Royal Television, showcasing the Niger Delta.
Show. My name remains Festus Ebikobu Emisarao. As usual on the morning show, our first segment is healthy living, and today we will be showing you the importance of watermelon. Enjoy this and don't go away. Right back. What happened? Nothing happened. Let the person that went for the battery come back quickly.
Hello, you're welcome to Healthy Living on Royal TV. I am Gloria Bobiokonko. Today we are going to be talking about watermelon seeds. Yeah, watermelon is an extremely popular fruit that we all know. But while we enjoy this sweet, refreshing fruit, we usually discard the tiny seeds scattered in it without even realizing, or rather knowing, the health benefits. And I must confess, I am found wanting in that regard. I'll just take the fruits and pour the seeds away, not knowing that these seeds are loaded with nutrients, including fatty acids, essential proteins, and lots of minerals. These seeds have hard outer covering, so it has to be chewed before swallowing. That is, the outer covering has to be chewed before you swallow them to get their nutritional content. So don't just throw them away and swallow them. Rather, you chew before you swallow. These seeds contain magnesium, which is vital for normal heart functioning, maintenance of normal blood pressure. This is really amazing. I didn't know about this until I found that out. It is also good for your face. Did you get that? And helps in improving male fertility. Wow, this is amazing. The watermelon seeds are also a source of vitamin B, which are vital for maintaining healthy blood, nervous system, and effective immune response. It is also good for the memory and effective in recovering health after illness. That's when you're recovering, you need the watermelon seed. It helps you. It is also an important source of calories and energy. Come with me to the demo corner. Let's make watermelon juice. This is the Demo Center on Healthy Living. If you just tuned in, today we are going to demonstrate how to make a juice out of watermelon. Although I talk about the seeds, which is equally important, we are going to make a juice out of it, so sit back and watch. First of all, I have to wash my hands. It should be a culture or tradition to wash hands before handling anything food. And I dry. Okay, let's do this. This is really big. Okay. Aha. Can you see that? Looks so juicy. This is the seed I was telling you about. Please don't throw it away. I'm not leaving out any seed. I'm going to add it to the juice. Let's do it this way. I have to be greedy about this. Get it all out. All out. Nothing has to be wasted. Okay. If you just tuned in, this is the demo corner of healthy living. Today, we are doing juice from watermelon. Even while we are taking the juice later and the seed is still there, chew and swallow. Don't throw away. You don't need to add water because it's water itself. So let's do this. I guess it's okay, yeah. Our watermelon juice is ready. Let's pour in the glass. So rich. We have our water lemon juice. This is refreshing. Seriously, you're missing out. Try this at home. Keep in the refrigerator. Instead of these soft drinks, get this for your children, for yourself, and stay healthy. Till I come your way again, same time, same station, keep a date with me. It's Gloria Obi Okonkwo saying, eat fruits and stay healthy. Bye.
Joining us, this is the morning show. We are live on UHF channel 51. You can also watch us live on any of your devices by simply logging on to royalfm.live or simply visit our website www.royalfmtv.com. Okay, let's go straight away into today's business. Today we'll still be talking about the theme of the PANDEF Mega Rally, which is Reconstructing Nigeria Federation. This rally took place last weekend at Osbo Lake, in Yenagoa. There I had the opportunity of speaking with some of our elder statesmen The statement called on President Muhammadu Buhari and the All Progressive Congress-led federal government to allow the restructuring of Nigeria by revisiting the report of the 2014 National Conference to end the myriad of agitation, protest, and provocation. They clamor for reform. The elders said that Nigeria have to engage in dialogue in order to avoid the opposite action, which could bring about destruction of lives and property, and the very thing that holds Nigeria together as member of Nigerian Federation. They believe until Nigeria comes up with an acceptable way of running the country, there is every likelihood that our nation will continue to witness agitations, protests from groups and ethnic nationalities that believe, rightly or wrongly, that they have been handed the short end of the stick. On the part of the national leader of PANDEF, Chief Edwin Clark, he said that the constituent parts of federation would do better in terms of development if they are empowered to control and manage their resources. Now, back to the elders. They insist that true federalism of Nigeria was the answer to the nation's stability and economic prosperity. They stress that recent development in the country lent credence to the fact that there was no better time to restructure Nigeria. Take a look at this interview. I will see you after the interview.
This program is not only about PANDEF.
Please increase the volume.
For resource control, PANDEF also insists for a restructuring of Nigeria. And a good portion of Nigeria presently is of the view that Nigeria will function better and do greater if we accept to restructure and coexist peacefully. On those bases, therefore, come rain, come shine, PANDEF has decided that we are not going to have a turning point except to insist on restructuring, because restructuring is the way forward. And even when there is restructuring, definitely there is also the necessity for resource control, because you don't restructure without maintaining the resources in a controlled manner. It's on the basis of that we have come together in support of the Ohanaeze Ndigbo, in support of the Afanefere, and in support of the Middle Belt section of Nigeria. And we believe that by the grace of God, with the synergy we have just created, we are going to break through a long way, and we are going to have something to offer Nigeria, so that Nigeria will be better, Nigeria will be greater, Nigeria will be stronger. PANDEF is exclusively a pressure group, a kind of cultural institution, which actually crisscrosses the entire Niger Delta region. PANDEF means Pan Niger Delta Forum, and it consists of all of these various branches, okay, that emanate from the various segments of the Niger Delta region to think together, to reason together, so that in spite of our own small ethnical differences, we are going to be able to unite together and form one voice so as to protect the interests of the Niger Delta region for a better and sustained support to Nigeria as a country.
As far as I'm aware, PANDEF is an organization covering the whole of the South-South that is ready to join hands with other Nigerians to give our country back to us, to restructure Nigeria into a fair federation where there is justice and fairness, where owners of resources will be allowed a fair share of it as it was under the Independence Constitution. So this is why we support PANDEF and any organization that believes in that kind of justice and restructuring of the country. I was once managing director of a bank, Nigeria Merchant Bank, which is a wholesale bank, but I still had branches. That is devolving authority and operations, so they can reach further down and be more efficient. If you have only one man ruling Nigeria, there will be so much inefficiency that the country will break down. For efficiency reasons, yes, that's why we have dual levels of government.
Resource control is natural. It means that we should be able to develop what is around us, under us, beneath us, all the natural resources that God has given to us. We should be able to develop them. And each state, all the federating units should develop their potentials according to their own rate and pay the usual due tax to the federal. Federal should not be seen as a godfather to everybody. We shouldn't be going there to beg for sustenance. We should be able to generate our own living and then pay the usual tax to the federal. The federal is too centralized. Power is too centralized at the center. Devolve some back. But it is natural that you must listen to what the ethnic nationalities are saying about their inclusiveness in a united Nigeria. They shouldn't be excluded. They should listen to us, listen to everybody, and try to bring them into a united, strong, united Nigeria. Let them look into 2014 Constitutional Conference report. And everything is there, and Nigeria will be one, and united and peaceful. That's my last word. Go back there. There's no issue of having your own personal view about it. 499 well-meaning Nigerians came together to produce a document that's contained in 6,000 page, 600 recommendations. They're all there. Even with the ongoing amendment of the Constitution at the National Assembly. They should look into it. What's wrong with the president? Really, with presidential bill, send that document there, and all these our problems will be over. Restructuring means that everybody should be able to belong to the united Nigeria free out of its own volition, not compulsion.
Restructuring is the main thing that will remove Nigeria from its sleeping status to a country that is ready to develop. The drawback effects of non-restructuring is too much to discuss here. Nigeria cannot move forward without restructuring. If you did some science, you know what is called weighted average. Nigeria is a victim of weighted average. But some people are not ready to go forward. They are weighing down those who are ready to go forward. And that is the problem of this country. Some people have deliberately created a lot of local governments for themselves. Look at Kano, 44 local governments. Bayelsa has only 8. I had promised a year ago as Chairman Fanny Fathers to take up this matter in the court. That the 8 LGS is a fraud against the people. So if we restructure, all the other things will be added to the development of this country. Without restructuring, we will not pull back by those who are not ready for development. Their own idea of development is very different from we in the South. Except they are ready to move ahead with us, they continue to draw this country back. In 2006, I was director in Plateau State. And I always say this thing, that if we give you people oil, you will kill yourselves. What arrant nonsense. Is it oil that we tell us that they are using these mercenaries to kill people? They are killing people under eating agenda herdsmen. They are not herdsmen. They are people bent on destroying this country. They are from the Maghreb region. Quote me, from the Maghreb region, the northern Africa part, and other people who are bent on destroying this country. So is it the resource control that is creating the present crisis nationwide? It's not resource control. We want to control and develop at our own pace. Our environment is different. If you travel through Bayelsa, you'll be shocked to see the type of settlement and the difficulty in coordinating these settlements as one development center. So we need to restructure and face our people. Forget about that statement that if we control ourselves, we kill ourselves. That is a way to pull us down, and we are not ready. We are very intelligent people that are ready to lead our people.
You can hear our elders there talking, spilling out their mind about the federating unit we call Nigeria. And I think the word of elders is the word of God. And I believe the authorities are watching, and they will be able to hearken to the cry and the heart yearning of, elders of this great nation, Nigeria. However, the elders differ on the issue of local government autonomy. The elders differ, and each of them give their opinion on how a federating unit should operate. I was thinking that when we are talking about restructuring, my own thinking is, I thought the elders should, support that, but they had contrary opinion. And I want you to take a look at this and see for yourself and see whether from the both end, both of them are right. Take a look at this. I don't go away.
You see, let's understand what we are doing. In a true federation, there are two levels of government: the center and the federating units. That is where the constitution ends. In any true federation, going beyond the federating units to below them is no. That's a feature of a unitary state. In the United Kingdom, for example, you have the government in Westminster, and then you have the local governments. They don't have federating units. But here we have the Ijaws existed before Nigeria. The Yorubas existed before the white man came. So we are older than the government. So we are the ones who surrender part of our sovereignty to form the government. Are you with me? Yes. Therefore, we cannot create a government which is an artificial creation of us. Which government will now create a sub-government below us? It doesn't make sense. Federation ends at the level of the federation units and the central government. Full stop. That is the truth of the matter. If you don't do so, the center can create hostility below your level and subvert the federation. Because we're multi-ethnic, multicultural, multi-religious community. We're not a homogeneous. If we're homogeneous, yes. If there's an Ijaw country and there are various federating units in Ijaw, yes, you can go to local government. But in the true federation, central government and federating, any other thing is an anomaly. It's an abnormality.
When you have true federalism, you have two federating units, the federal and the states. The states can create as many local governments as they wish and they can manage out of their resources. It shouldn't be centralized. The local government should not be centralized, so it should be a creation.
Yes, sir, you are saying the local government should not be, the things should not be centralized. Now that's why the local government is asking for autonomy from the state.
They are under the states. They are under the states. Because if they are going to be created by the state instrument, they are under the state. The two federal units are federal, they should be federal, and the states. That is what is practiced in all federations throughout the world.
I don't want to agree that the governors influence the Houses of Assembly. At the Houses of Assembly, were they elected on the premise of the governor? They were elected as an individual who had offered to serve the people of the constituency they had, so represented. And so their constituents, I'm too sure the constituencies advised them as to what they should do. For instance, in my own constituency, I advised my own candidate or my representative that I will want, their portions of the constitution to be listened to an extent that there should be devolution of power to the local government. I had heard from my learned, the wisdom of my elder, Chief Olufale that says that we have 2 tiers of government, and that is provided for by the federal system. That any good federal system only make provision for the federal system and the second tier, the federating unit. And it is the responsibility of the federating unit to look at the modus operandi of taking services to the people. And to that extent, you can create local government, you can create administrative areas to take government, to take services to the people. But I will say no to an extent, because we are purely running a unitary system that has been foisted onto us since the advent of military intervention. Our constitution has been fashioned with unitary dottings, and so they had created the federal system, the center, the second system, which is the state, and then the third system, which is the local government. I would think that the onus lies on our representatives to stood the ground that decision, that desire of the people, having government of the people, for the people and by the people, to be established, ensuring that that we have the local government having the autonomy. So the failure lies on the representatives, that they fail our people. They failed those of us that elected them. Not the governors. Because they would have resisted. So they're now showing us that they are rubber stamps of the governors. And the governors will tell them to come and kill us, and they will make laws to kill us without looking at the adverseness of that law to the people that elected them. So I would think that they failed. And that the 2019 election coming, that the people should use this as a precondition, to assess them, to put them on the scale of balance and see whether they have delivered on what they sent them to do in the initial stage.
Two deputy governors having different opinion. Talking about Dr. Ekpeyong, former deputy governor of Akwa Ibom State, and Chief Benjamin Eloi, former deputy governor of Delta State. Different opinion on devolution of power, autonomy, giving autonomy to the local government. Well, let's see how it plays out. But they unanimously agree on state policing, saying that state policing will reduce crime rate in the society and will bring about effective policing of life and property. Take a look at this again before we go into the discussion. Don't go away.
When I was a child, I knew of 3 police forces in my hometown of Akure. We had the Nigerian police, the Western Regional Police, and the Native Authority Police. 3, not 1, not 2. When the Civil War came, in the federal government's bid to quickly build up the army, they collected the regional police and the NA police, trained them to become soldiers. At the end of the war, they never returned them. That's what happened. The white man was not a fool to allow 3 levels of policing in a country as big and as complex, as variegated as Nigeria. We need lower levels of government. Already, let me tell you, by the time we were in the National Conference in 2014, some of our friends from the Northwest were opposing state police, and I told them they were hypocrites because they already had 2 police forces in their areas, the Nigerian police and the Hisba, which they said was Sharia police. Sharia police wears a uniform like the Nigerian police, created by law, state assembly law, has the power of the police, power to arrest, to detain, and to prosecute. So I said, you have two police forces, we have only one. We wanted the second, you are opposed, you are a very unfair man.
I was 13 years old when the war broke up, and I was in Port Harcourt. I have sang the song of Isiboro. Even in primary school days, I defended the Isiboros. Only in my secondary school days, I defended Isiboro. I was a lead counsel, acting. I thought I would be, an actor, but I became an engineer. But acting has been my passion, So I support the creation of state police in the sense that when I was young, I used to see people called belief. My father, though he was a councillor, used to call them Kotuma. So, and these people were given the authority to arrest people. If you steal in the market, they will arrest you and prosecute you in the customary court. And the customary court had the rules that the jurisdiction of sentencing you to about 3 months in imprisonment, and you'll be taken to the state or to the local government, or of course called state prison, yet. Or they also had their own prisons, yet in the county councils headquarters. So that helped in checking the criminal tendency development. And of course, that was even after independence and few years up into ourselves, independent. But today, with crime at different waves, why must we not have state police? Who must have state police? I used to disagree with governors who you have to show in yours, handling of their offices by utilizing state police, because it becomes their own beck and call to treat their opponent. But I don't buy into that, because there's liberty. What democracy defines is liberty. Democracy defines, is justice, is fairness, and equity. So there should be, the state police.
In the north, generally there is no state police. What you have that Chief was referring to is the Hisbah. The Hisbah is a religious police, and the Hisbah is discriminatory. They are only for Muslims, and the rest who are not Muslims are not covered by them, and are not even secure in their hands. So you cannot equate the Hisbah, which is a Muslim police, with a state police, because it's not a public, authority police. And if you have good security system, we will not even be asking for state or local police. It's because the security system is porous, or when criminals are operating, they look the other way. Probably they know the intention of the criminals and they have the same intention. That's why they look the other way. And if you have local police, the local police will not look the other way.
As governors are incapacitated today, everything is centralized. Unitary form of strong hand government. State police, because today, if governor does not take permission from Abuja, even his state cannot be policed. So what is it? Even in some states in the north, they still have some sort of local policing, which is they name it anything. But central police has to go with this restructuring. When you have a governor who cannot talk to his commissioner of police without referring to Abuja, that is wrong. And especially this time when you have problem with securities everywhere. It is something that has to be done alongside all the components of restructuring.
argument, counter-argument, opinions, different opinion. In all this, however, PANDEF has insisted that the 2019 general election is going to be, there's going to be a referendum on restructuring Nigeria, and they also call on the federal government to restructure the federation before the 2019 poll. If not, there will be nothing to do. And now to discuss this matter of restructuring, with me on set, I have Mr. Ranami Afar, who is a political analyst and also a civil rights activist. Mr. Ranami, you are welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. But before we go into the discussion, we'll quickly take a short break. When we come back, we'll go into the discussion proper. Don't go away.
Our future Niger Delta. Our future Niger Delta. Our future Niger Delta. I support our future. I see the future Niger Delta.
Our future Niger Delta.
I support our future.
Niger Delta, our future.
Our future Niger Delta. And I support TNDD.
And I support TNDD.
Our future Niger Delta.
Niger Delta. Future of the hopeless. Niger Delta. The dream of the dreamless. Niger Delta. The one that gives succor to the suckling.
Our future Niger Delta. And we support TNDD. Our future Niger Delta.
Our future Niger Delta.
Our future Niger Delta. Our future Niger Delta.
Wake up with our future. Wake up with our dream.
We are the future. We are the dream.
Yeah, welcome back. It's still the morning show on Royal FM, channel 51 UHF. You can simply watch us on royalfm.live if you have an iPad, a tablet, or an Android phone. Or you can go straight to our website, www.royalfmtv.com. Let's go into the discussion proper. Mr. Ranami, you had the two deputy governors. Let's start from the issue of the local government, the autonomy, where you had the two deputy governors, talking of Chief Benjamin Eloy, of former deputy governor of Delta State, and Chief Ekpeyon, former deputy governor of Akwa Ibom State, had different opinion. I was thinking that restructuring, as local government in mind, that when you're talking about devolution of power, restructuring, give power back to us, I was thinking you are talking about the grassroots. So why this contrary opinion?
I think as a person, I will want to stand with the former deputy governor of Akwa Ibom State. I believe that the local government must be autonomous. I believe that for the effectiveness of the administration in the local government level, they must have 100% autonomy. And I think that autonomy for now, it is basically being focused towards resources. that the local government should have their allocation directly from the federal government. They don't need to have any joint account with the state government. And I think I stand with that. The state government has no business having a joint account with the local government. So I totally disagree with the deputy governor of Delta State that there is no need for the local government. I think there is need for the local government, and the autonomy should be 100%. And as a person, I think I want to urge the Bayelsa State government and also the assembly to support the total independence and autonomy of the local government. And if even, I think the state can set a standard. You know that one of the states that is actually pushing for restructuring is Bayelsa State. So if Bayelsa State is pushing for restructuring, as we know, then Bayelsa State should be able to set a standard. What is the standard? The state government should be able to come out with the assembly that because we are pushing for a restructuring, we want to lead by example. And from today, we are announcing that at the state level, we are asking the local government to be autonomous. That every single money that is coming to the local government should go directly to the council. Now, if that is done, then people will take us serious when we speak.
Okay, let's take from what Chief Olufala said. He said if we give local government autonomy and the local government can create chaos, under the central state government. What is your take on that one?
I think I am sorry to say, but I think I disagree with Olufalaye. He's an elder statesman, but it is not everything that an elder statesman will say that might be correct. It might be correct at his own view, but I think generally, 99% of Nigerians believe that the local government should stay under this federal structure that we have. If by tomorrow we now have a regional government, and the regional government felt that there will be no need for a local council, fine. But presently at the state we are now, I think local government must stay, and so I disagree with Olufalaye.
You are talking about regional government. The elder statesmen are not asking for regional government. Neither the various pressure group neither are they asking for regional government. They are asking that the states be given autonomy, to control their resources and pay something to the tax of the federal government. So, if let's say the 2014 Constitutional Conference report was looked into, and the federal government and the APC-led government said, okay, we agree to that, and let's send it to the National Assembly and let them work on it, and let's sign it, let's make it a law. Would there still be any need for local government to have autonomy?
I think at every level, government is about the people. And whether you like it or not, even as we speak now, the paramount rulers we have in our communities are being empowered by the state government. That is to tell you that government is from the state down to local government and down to the community. If it wasn't like that, then there is no need for the government to give a staff of office to my paramount ruler. I should be able to decide who rules me, and it should end there. But because we are talking about governance to the grassroots, that is why today the government will also recognize a paramount ruler in the community, which is another level of government. Another level. So we can't run away from local government. But if the people sit down together and said, okay, at this level, we don't need the local council, fine. But I think, I doubt if Nigerians will ever reject the local level or the local councils.
Okay, let's move away from local government and autonomy. Let's come back to 2019 election. Now, PANDEF is saying that 2019 we have to be a referendum. And even in Bayelsa here, some pressure group is already saying that, okay, for 2019 to be actualized, they have to accept what? Restructuring. What do you envisage that will happen within this period?
I think my personal opinion, I don't see the possibility of that happening between now and 2019. Because I'm talking about now, even every state governor that might be going for a re-election will be focusing on campaigns. So I wouldn't know the time that some of these our governors, our senators, House of Reps, and even the House of Assembly members will have in talking about restructuring. So the time is so close, except a template will be placed on the table.
Are you sure it has not started?
Well, with
the current happenings at the National Assembly.
It has started, but not in a full gear, whether you like it or not. Because even every individual you see at the National Assembly has interest of coming back. Now remember that as we speak now, the North, especially the Hausa Fulanis, are against restructuring. So you don't expect a senator who is a Fulani or a House of Reps member who is a Fulani to talk about restructuring in the North when he's facing an election. It's not possible. They wouldn't even dare it because their leaders said we don't want restructuring, and it will be suicidal for a senator who is looking for a re-election to go tell his people that Nigeria must be restructured. It's not possible. It's not. So you can see that it is a good thing that we are agitating. It is a good thing that we are discussing. But for this to come to pass, to be implemented before 2019, I think I am being realistic. It's not possible. It can't be done between now and 2019. Except, like I said, there should be a template that as we step into 2019 and the new government is put in place, then this is what we are going to do. But remember, APC, including the present president, also campaigned based on restructuring.
In 2015.
Okay. Yes, they did that. But when they come on board, they discarded everything. Do you know that the president even denied that it wasn't him that said those, that it was APC that said it? He was separating himself from his party.
Okay.
That it was APC that said it. It wasn't him that said it. But in real sense, can you separate the candidate from the party? It's not possible.
Okay.
So you can see that a party can also tell you that if we come into power in 2019, that we are setting this thing rolling for a restructuring. It's possible for them to say that. But if they come into power, will they be able to respect what they've said? Will they be able to implement what they've campaigned for? They wouldn't. And look at Nigeria. Ordinarily, if the society is up and doing, Nigerians are supposed to rise up and say no to APC for them to deceive Nigerians that if they come on board, they will restructure. Tinubu, one of the leaders of the APC, was also a local champion for restructuring when he was only ruling the West. He was always talking about restructuring. But now that they are in Abuja, they don't want to restructure. They don't need it.
So who do you think Nigerians will believe now in this restructuring struggle? Are you sure Nigerians will believe this different pressure group from this different geopolitical zone, including PANDEF?
I think to me, it will be difficult for Nigerians to believe we politicians. That is the simple truth. Okay. But for a way out, as for me, for my personal opinion, I think I will advise that we should go back to the 2019 confab report. 2014, sorry.
2014.
Yes, the 2014 confab report. And I think that report will do us a lot of good. It will reshape Nigeria. And I think we can start a new leaf if we can sincerely step into that 2014 confab report. But remember, there are some persons who believe that if that report is implemented, that the food on their table will be taken away. And they will always want to kick against it. And it is not hidden, especially the Fulanis. They believe that if it is restructured, then what is due them from especially the Niger Delta and the whole of South? Because most of this is happening, for example, today in the northern states, the alcohol is outlawed. You are not permitted to sell. But alcohol will be sold in Bayelsa, will be sold in Lagos, will be sold in the South region, including the Middle Belt. Then tax will be paid, VAT, to the central government. Then those same states and governors who outlawed alcohol will go to Abuja to also share the money that is gotten from alcohol.
Okay.
Can you see that? That is deception.
So are we now saying that the whole of this struggle is politics in disguise?
Of course, you can't rule that out. You know that whatever it is that's going to happen, it is not a revolution. If it is a revolution, then we are not talking about politics. But as long as it's not a revolution, you and I want to implement this through our elected officials. So it is politics. It is politics, and just like we know, the Hausa Fulanis believe that if this thing is done, that it will be detrimental to them. So through politics, their senators are kicking against it, even at the federal level. All of them are kicking against it because they believe that they will suffer for it. So the only way out is for a strong personality who will come in as an elected president to decide that this thing must be done. If Nigeria is structured today, somewhere like Onitsha should have a seaport. They should have direct flight to any airport around Anambra. As a businessman in Onitsha, I don't need to import my goods to pass through Lagos before I should now send them to Onitsha. No. If Kano could have a dry port, then why can't Onitsha have a seaport? It will be easier, and if there is a seaport in Onitsha, believe you me, Onitsha will become rich. I mean, Anambra will become rich because those duties, those monies, taxes they pay in Lagos will now be paid in Anambra State. And one big thing that we must understand is that whether we like it or not, Nigeria is structured for some states alone to benefit.
Now let me pause you there. You know, while you were talking, you keep mentioning the Hausa Fulanis, and Hausa Fulani is just one of the ethnic groups in Nigeria. I think we have about 700 and something of them. Abi? So why is it that this other ethnic group, you know, why is it that they can't join together and force these people to go away from their position?
I think what Pandev just did last Saturday, you can see that Pandev was able to galvanize not just the South, not just the South-South, but also the Southeast, the Southwest, and including the Middle Belt. Now, whether you like it or not, if you look at it very well, if the South-South, the Southeast, the Southwest, and the Middle Belt is together, this is about 4 regions. Now, only 2 regions are left out of the 6 regions. You see that the 4 are enough to stand on their own. But the problem is that what is going to stop the 4 from functioning?
What is it? What is it?
Now that is the big question. That is the big question. Now remember one thing, whether we like it or not, except though I don't believe in violent revolution, but I think there should be a kind of a revolution whereby the rest persons will say no to this. This is what we want. You can't tell me that 4 regions are asking for restructuring and 2 will say no and it's this no. How possible is that? How possible is that? There are 4. Okay, let's go into voting out of the 4 regions, and we say 4 are now saying restructuring. 2 is saying no, and the 2 is having the day. Then something must be amiss. What is behind them saying no and no is standing? There must be something. Is it the power of the gun? Because to me, I believe that the only thing that could give the Hausa Fulanis to say no to this is probably they believe they have the power of the gun. That is the simple truth. Because if you're even talking about numbers, the Hausa Fulanis, let me not even add the Hausas. Because if you go to the north, the Hausa will also want to also separate themselves from the Fulanis.
Okay.
We know very well that the Fulanis are not the majority in this country. But plus or minus, they kind of have the military power We can't run away from that.
Yeah, that's your opinion.
In my opinion.
Your own opinion.
Yes, in my own opinion.
Yeah.
I am sensing that, I'm seeing that.
Okay.
That for them to stand and say no, it is because probably they believe that the military power is in their hands. And I want to buttress that point. A few days ago, a Fulani organization issued a statement concerning what T.Y. Danjuma said, okay, which I, as a person, I stand with T.Y. Danjuma. We must defend ourselves. They now issued a statement calling for a jihad, saying that the Fulanis have been given the powers to rule Nigeria, asking Buhari to move every military equipment within the Middle Belt down far north.
Okay, let's pause there first. The reason why I say we should pause there is that this is just they are not Nigerians, right? They are not the old Nigerians, so they are not speaking the mind of Nigerians. And if General T.Y. Danjuma made a statement, that is his own opinion. You understand what I'm saying now? And the Fulani calling for Buhari, to move military might cannot change anything. So let's pause that one there, and let's come back to this, the restructuring. We made a point here. You said if 4 zones could agree on restructuring, 4 zones could agree on restructuring, and only 2 zones are against it. I thought we are operating democracy, and I thought we can go by referendum, by voting, and said, okay, we vote you out. Our own intentions. This is our intention, and this is what we want. So it's either you take it or you leave it. Why can't we take that process instead of calling for violence and this or that? Because Pandef said that there should be a referendum before the 2019 election, which I think is reasonable.
Now the question is, who is going to roll out the templates for the referendum? The government. That is the simple truth. Now, the body language of Buhari, our president, and those around him, do you think that they will want to listen to anything like referendum at this point? They know very well that if there's a referendum today, Nigerians will vote what we are talking about.
But the same President Buhari constituted his own restructuring committee.
From the APC?
Yeah, from the APC, led by Governor of Governor of Kaduna State.
Very good.
Governor El-Rufai.
Very good. Now, do you agree with me that is hypocrisy? Because the same El-Rufai...
Why will you call it hypocrisy?
Yes, the same El-Rufai has been on air on several occasions. Denouncing restructuring. He has been on air on several occasions denouncing restructuring. So how could you tell me a governor who does not believe in restructuring sharing a committee for restructuring? That is deceit. Because I think the very day El-Rufai was announced as the chairman of that committee, me as a person, I concluded it was just a show. That is the simple truth. It's a show. If El-Rufai is not even qualified to be a member of that committee, because if today I am saying that having restructuring is evil, it is against my people, then you now ask me to come and share a committee that is to talk about that. What do you think is going to be the outcome? Now the question is, since they've been working at it today, what has been the outcome? Nothing. So it was just a show. It was a show, nothing else, nothing.
All right. Time is on our side. We have to leave it there for another day. And we'll still visit the restructuring. Why do we have to visit restructuring? Because that is what is trending now, And most of the political zone agree that restructuring, the 2019 election, the outcome would determine the referendum that government should hold between. Like you said, I don't know how it's going to work or how it's going to do that.
And before I go, sorry, I think let me also say this, that as a person, I support state police. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, it supports state police. But that's where we'll call it a day. That's why we'll draw the curtain on this show. Stay tuned tomorrow also for another interesting edition. But from us here at the studio, stay away from trouble and have a good day. I remain Festus Ebikobowe Mesarawo.